Good morning, this is Stylist John with another morning motivation for HairGasm. I'm your host, and today's word of motivation is study. Study. So let's break down the definition of the word study. The Merriam-Webster's dictionary describes study as a state of contemplation. What does contemplation mean? To contemplate means to think about, to revere, to review. It also is an application of mental faculties to acquisition of knowledge, years of study. Your brain spent time processing information over and over again for years. You sat down and broke certain things down over and over again. It could also be described as a careful or extended consideration. The proposal is under study. Example, another definition could be a careful examination or analysis of a phenomenon, development, or question. A careful examination or analysis of a phenomenon, development, or question. So, to study means to think about over and over again, using your mental faculties. And such an application of using your mental faculties in a particular field or subject matter will cause you to have an enlightened level of understanding about that specific thing that you're going over. Example, I'm in the barbering and cosmetology field. What I spend most of my time reading and absorbing is what's going to cause me to have the understanding of how to do the specific function of the output that I'm doing. If I study flat ironing all day and I look at the different grades of hair, how to hold the flat iron, how to hold my wrist, how to hold the comb, and I study and I look at material, what products to use to make the hair softer, what products to use to make the hair more moisturized after you flat iron it or before you flat iron it. My flat irons, there's going to be a level of flat ironing that I do that causes it to get from one stage to the next just by studying alone. Having the mental faculty to understand what it is that I'm doing and why. I went to school at Elaine Stevens. Prior to going to Elaine Stevens, I went to Vatterott, Berkeley campus. Those were two different curriculums. I studied pivot point curriculum. I studied Milady curriculum. They had two distinct different ways of hair cutting. They had two distinct ways of how they had a system of doing things. In barbering school has a different, distinct understanding of how to cut hair. Some of the principles may be the same, but there's a distinct difference in how a person will cut hair in cosmetology school and how a person will cut hair in barbering school, simply based off the fundamentals that are taught and simply based off of the techniques that are being passed down and the information that's given. I was having this conversation with a barber friend of mine, and he pretty much was saying the same thing that I just said. In barbering school, some barbers know that all they want to do is just cut hair all day. They don't want to mess with no flat irons. They don't want to mess with no haircuts. They don't want to mess with no color. All they want to do is go in and cut hair. And so that's what all they focus on while they in school. In cosmetology school, you learn color, you learn different hairstyles, you learn pin curls, roller sets, French rolls, you learn different topics on braiding, you learn flat iron and shampoo, blow dry, iron curl, and it's a system, and you do that all day long after your Tuesday day of theory. The rest of the week, clients come in and you service them. They request you. At school, I was one of the top requested persons at school for doing flat ironing, men's haircuts, tight curls, rods, and roller sets. Most of my clients were older, probably 30 and up, and I almost did 8-9 hour days where I would start in the morning time and I would stay to the evening time. When I graduated from cosmetology school and started working inside of a shop, I noticed how some of the co-workers that I had, they had a different skill set than I did. So I began to study. I looked at the output of what they were producing, and I began to watch their body posture, watch the communication with the client, and look at the end result. There was a Muslim minister that I sat down and had the privilege of communicating with him at Muhammad Mosque number 7 on West Florissant. On West Florissant. And his name is Brother Nuri Muhammad. And in his deliberation of his speech and communication, when he was talking about his life, he spoke on where he was at and where he was traveling to and how he got there. An older brother told him, he said, travel to the ends of the earth. Seek out those that were before you and find out what their end will be. What does that mean? When he was a young man, he was off into the streets. And this is his phrasing. He was getting it. Right? You young, you ambitious about your goals. He went out and got his goals. He was getting it. Right? As he began to talk to the old brothers, the OGs that were around him, he said, OG, when you was my age, what was you doing? Oh, young brother, I was getting it like you. He go to another OG. OG, what was you doing when you was my age? Young brother, I was getting it like you. And the OGs before him, they had been incarcerated. They had a list of criminal records that prevented them from doing certain things. They had addictions to various different types of substances. So he sat down and thought one day, and he said, if I follow what he does and I continue doing what he does, I'm gonna end up where he's at. So travel to the ends of the earth. Seek wisdom from those who are around you that have done it before, and see what the end will be. If I want to be successful at doing what it is that I do, that I'm doing every day, which is, it's like an equation, A plus B equals C. If I'm talking to somebody at step A and their end is C, B would be the catalyst of what I involve myself in to get to the end result. So if A is the person, B is the wisdom, and C is the output of the person plus the wisdom equals the output of where you're going, you need to examine that equation every day of your life. If I want to be an instructor, I need to go talk to instructors that have went through the steps of being an instructor. My passion is teaching. My passion is helping other people learn and understand how to do things. My passion is acquiring an understanding and being able to communicate to someone else about how to do what I just read or how to do a technique. That's my passion. I don't judge where people's mindset is. All I try to do is help them understand in their mindset how to get to the next level of understanding. That's what teachers do. So, in order to be a teacher, I have to study. What do I have to study? I have to study the subject matter I'm teaching. I have to study the instructors, because there are different styles of teaching. I have to find out what my skill set is, what my strengths are, and what my weaknesses are. And I have to study the student that I'm teaching. Why? Because it would help me better educate them by knowing how they learn, by knowing what their strengths or weaknesses are, and also by assisting them with growing. And I can direct them on what to study. To be a teacher, you have to know the different learning styles that people learn. You have to understand how to effectively communicate a message. You have to know how the human brain works to help a person receive information. You have to know keywords that trigger certain behaviors in people. You have to have behavioral science skills to understand the thought process and the mind, because our minds are programmed a certain way. And as a teacher, you're dealing with different minds that are programmed to do certain things. As an educator, you are instructing and giving a person a sharpening of their own mind with how they process things. You're adding to the process of how they learn, adding to the process of how they behave, adding to the process of how they do things. So today's word is study. I gave 2 examples of what it means to study. This is Stylist John. I'm open to talk with your elementary, middle school, high school, or college age students to encourage them. I can be reached at 314-359-5499. Thank you for tuning in to my show, HairGasm, where we talk about hair, food, entertainment, music, romance, and health. I also have educational classes where I teach different skill sets of cosmetology and barbering skills, lock retwisting, outside of lock retwisting, basic men's clipper cutting, Marshall iron curling, braids. Check out my website at www.stylistjohn.webs.com. I'm going to have instructional videos for sale on my website, and I'm also going to check in for new music that I have available for digital download on my website. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great and wonderful day. I believe in you and I believe in your success. But study to be successful. Look at those that are around you that are successful and study. Salute.